what was the advice on why I should make myself as a sticker beyond the hero one?
Okay, well, first of all, if you don't have a sticker of yourself, for those who are watching and listening, wherever you are listening or watching this fabulous podcast, just go get yourself one. It's just going to make you feel good. And it's a really, actually very fun way to like sign letters if you're old school like me who still likes to like write a letter to somebody. However, I recently discovered, and yes, it's going to be a shameful plug of literally myself as a sticker. There we go. Bam. Uh,
Yes,
my
I love that
mom
so much.
I know, right? Thank
I
you.
love
I
it.
can't ever not wear this turquoise jacket. So, but my mom, she has plastered these stickers all on her walker.
On her walker. And then it makes it so that other people who maybe are around and have walkers might want to be like her, be part of the Amanda Club.
Exactly. That's actually really what I'm going for. If I don't get famous for anything else, it is me getting famous on the 65 plus community and, you know, the walkers that they have all around the building. So it's well worth the $24.95 I spent on them.
Hi, I'm Kassy, and this is the Spark Konnect, a podcast about what brings us to life: connection, creativity, courage, and the moments that spark real change. I'll be your host, bringing my experience as a speaker, consultant, and lifelong believer in showing up as your full self. In this series, Arts and Facilitation, you'll hear from inspiring voices, facilitators, trainers, speakers, and everyday humans who are also artists, lighting up the world in their own unique, creative ways. This is your space to reflect, reset, and reignite, because the spark is already in you. Let's light it up. Okay, friends, get ready, because this conversation had me laughing and learning and just loving every single second. I got to sit down with Amanda Devlugt. Yes, Devlugt, which literally means to take flight. And wow, does she ever. Amanda's journey is such a ride. An actor who ran hotels forever and then landed in L&D thanks to a program that taught her to become a virtual trainer. Hint, hint, that might have been where she and I met. And the way she shows up in our field, pure joy every time I see her. She proves you can do serious work without needing to do it in a serious manner. What I love most is how she uses silliness, not as fluff, but as fuel to be the best version of herself. And she'll challenge you to find out what your version of that is too. Don't miss her advice, straight from the world of improv, on how to get out of your head and into the moment. And yeah, spoiler alert, she's got pants on. So join me now for an episode that reminds us all why silliness is serious work.
Amanda, thank you for being here today with
Oh my
me
gosh.
on the Arts and Facilitation podcast. I'm so excited. You and I have known each other for a number of years. You were a bright light from the moment the webcam turned on. And I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. How exactly do you pronounce your name so we could get it right? And tell us just a little bit about you and who you are and what you do.
Such great questions. And well, my name is Amanda. And my last name is pronounced here in America, Devlugt. I am of Dutch origin. My dad, he is Dutch. So if you're in Holland and you see my last name, then you know I didn't say it correctly. So properly, it's pronounced Devlugt, which means to take flight, which is such a fitting last name because if you see my backdrop, or for those who are listening, my backdrop is filled with a bunch of aviation stuff because I'm a huge aviation nerd. I grew up literally on an airplane. Mom was a flight attendant for 50 years. So if I wasn't on land, I was 35,000 feet above sea level.
It's amazing. So many of the posts that come through my feed in our longtime friendship are about your travels. And I always have a bit of envy, but it's very interesting because that's part of your life.
You know, people love to travel, right? So many people I know, hey, I love to travel, love to travel. And that's fantastic. Go see the world. It makes connections with people so much brighter for the world to seek to understand other people. For me, as somebody who has a very diverse resume, as recruiters like to tell me, part of what fuels my creativity or where I come up with my best next move is, in fact, traveling. That is where I get my inspiration. I have to sit on an airplane and I get some of those best ideas. I don't know, maybe because the air is thinner, I don't know, but that is just what has some of my best life thoughts and moments that I've been able to execute on is while not sitting in the confines of my four walls here.
I think that's part of what has inspired me to want to do these interviews, because so much of what I end up bringing to my work is inspired by things that are happening outside. And those things tend to fall in the world of the arts. How many times I've been at a comedy show and I've picked up an idea or a bit. My main bit that I use in my current speeches, The Secret, came from a comedy act that I attended. And I thought that was great. How could I redo that and use that? And so you're right, like getting outside of sort of our normal routines are, I know for me personally, what helps to inspire me to think about how can I shake it up and also continue to have the passion and the excitement around the work that I do. It doesn't always come from being in the work. A lot of it does, but a lot of it's inspired by things that are just completely outside of that. And that's what you made me think of when you were describing what we get into when we travel.
100%. 100%. Well, when I'm not floating about 35,000 feet above sea level, I have, for forever, a long time. So when we met, I was working for Hilton in hospitality. And I think much of with so many folks that either get into learning and development or into facilitation, you sort of just fall into it. And I was one of those same people. I ran hotels forever. And, in my mind, I was a business person. I'm climbing the corporate ladder. And what I didn't realize, and I wish I would have, but in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't because I got to do all these other cool things, is that what I loved more about the business side of things was the people development side of things. And that's how you and I met, was working for a department at Hilton, and they had invested into this thing called virtual training. What's this virtual training you do? And I just fell in love. And you're an amazing human, as you know, and you've just fueled my continued desire to explore learning and development as then a career, and then sort of figure out where my fueling is. And that's always been in front of the people, making and creating these super moments for others, so they're walking away feeling good about themselves and ready to take over the world, but then they're also learning something. And that's an art form.
100%. I mean, thank you for what you just said too. I mean, I meant every word of what I said when I met you and you were shining through the webcam. I could tell right away that you had a performance background. You are an actor, Amanda, right? You have been.
Well, I have been in front of the stage a few times.
I always say that's where where I come from too, having loved acting throughout high school and college. Then I never pursued it outside of that, but it's still part of who I am, what I love, and what inspires me. And so I tend to see it and notice it in other people. So tell me, the actor in you, the performer in you, the artistry, how does this play out, do you think, in the work that you do as a facilitator and as a trainer? Where do you think it shows up? And I heard you mention some words, collaboration, managing things that were sort of unexpected, dealing with technology, reactions and connections with people. There's so many things that are related to things that we're doing in this case, in your personal life. But so much of what you were describing when you were making that plays out in the work that we do too. And I know in some of the projects that you've been involved in and the work that you've done over the years. But how would you say that artistry, that actor side of you, that performance side of you plays out when you do your job as a trainer or a professional in learning and development?
I actually I struggle with this because as a performer, right, versus a facilitator, facilitating conversation, especially if it's a business conversation, it's a serious conversation. So I have my hand in lots of different types of projects, whether it's some sort of serious advisement work for businesses trying to scale small, their teams, whatever, and then also facilitation for, I would say, fun stuff. To switch from being a performer to a facilitating a conversation is a struggle because it doesn't, how do I articulate this? you cannot be a performer in a serious conversation. There's foundations of being a performer, like the active listening, and not just nodding and agreeing, right? The active listenings that you can go back to something if something was said. The confidence of being on stage, so to speak. But a performer, very much so, at least in my experiences, it's a very one-sided way of creating a moment versus the facilitating kind of environment where you are seeking to understand. You have to understand the conversation that's being had so that you can respond accordingly or offer guidance or whatever the case might be. So for me, as a mostly a performer, I would say, when I first got into facilitating, I very much had to learn, also the hard way, that I'm not the hero in facilitating sessions, right? I'm not the hero. And as somebody who's a performer and has never passed a camera or a mirror that they didn't fall in love with, I had to realize, I had to figure out how to shift that. It could sound a little big-headed, but I promise you it's not. I really just it is what it is. I don't know if you ever, struggle with that, or you've heard, people sort of in that same mantra where it's like, I'm not the hero of this story. It's not about me as a facilitator as much as I want to infer. Now, what I think I've been able to do very well because of the experience that I've had across, traveling all over the world and meeting and talking to cool people is to relate, but again, not making it I'm the performer and I need to make sure you are laughing at my jokes because, man, my feelings get hurt when people don't think I'm funny or whatever the case might be.
Where do you think this is coming from? Like, do you think, what's your belief on if I'm hearing you right, and let me get some clarification here. A performer is about you and a facilitator is about them.
Well, yes, and I think the performance is about you initially, because you are having to, it's your brand, it's your reputation. Facilitating is about them because they're there to get something out of it. But really, it's a yes and because as a performer and facilitating, you're trying to create a moment, a memorable moment, whatever that might look like, that audience, that attendee, that learner is walking away feeling something so that they can go and act on it or react to it later or whatever the case might be.
It's interesting because in order for a performer to make an impact, they need to involve the audience, as you've just described. And in order for a facilitation to engage, we probably need to perform to get them to lean in. And I just wonder, and it's actually what I'm so interested in exploring through this series and why I'm inviting people like yourself to talk about this, how much of, our own careers. I know for me, as I came up in the business world, art and performance in particular, which was my sort of area of choice when it came to art, was seen as something that we did with children. And as we grow up, we sort of slowly take away how much art and creativity we're taught and encouraged to experience within a work context. Save it for the evenings and the weekends. Bring your professional self to the office. And so I wonder how much of these beliefs are impacting what we feel about ourselves as performers in the business space and vice versa as facilitators concerned about too much performance. Another part of my career too was coming up in when you had edutainment, or, that was just a fun class. I didn't learn anything. And edutainment wasn't seen as something that was positive. Like we needed to get to business. And I actually just, as we enter into this age of AI, and everyone's seeking out the human side of things, I'm just wanting in my heart and soul to go back to, wait a second, I don't think that this artistry and the beautiful things that actually make me happy and fuel so much of who I am and what I bring to my space needs to be hidden anymore. I think it's the answer to how we figure out the humanity in this digital age. And I'm wondering what you think about all of that. That was a lot.
No, I mean, and I agree with you. I think it's generational too now. I think as well, I don't have kids. I have nephews who are, in their late teens, early 20s, and some, I can say this, like younger friends in their 20s because I'm way past that, where they grew up, in this space where be you, be authentic, speak your mind. And if a company doesn't value this authenticity, then that's not the company for me. And I'm excited that companies are evolving to that, where I have still seen this opportunity, this gap in the business is that, yes, they want authentic Amanda. They want, authentic whoever, but in the confines of what it feels comfortable for them. And so, as a performer, you're not your best self when you're still put in a confine. I can't imagine if I was a, sculptor and you sculpt anything, but don't sculpt this, and this, and it needs to be only this much. And I agree with you 100%. I, at this point in my life where this is what you have, you get this authentic version of me, and you're going to get the best results if you allow this art part of me, the artsy part of me, which I would say is mostly humor in the workplace. You're going to get the best business results. You can do serious work without having to do it in a serious manner. I love to reiterate that to anybody who needs to hear it scream it from the rooftops.
You can do serious work without having to do it in a serious manner.
Exactly.
Can you share with us where that has that played out, like in the type of training that you do?
So recently I supported a rather large event, and it was with some staff that were hired staff, and so contract staff. If you've ever been a contractor, you're always sort of at the edge of your seat because you can just sort of get cut without any rhyme or reason. And, in this day and age, any gig is a great gig for anybody, right? The folks of this conference, they were very, very particular of how they wanted things to get executed. And it was my job to support that event staff and train them. And I had not a lot of time to do that. And so, they were used to this environment of like, you can do this, you can't do this. And if you do this, there's, repercussions. Well, yes. Always poke a bear with a stick before you give it honey and you'll get real great results, right? Not. And so, for me, it's breaking down that barrier right off the bat. I've been known to sort of poke fun at myself first to break it, right? Be silly, intentional silliness. And then now you've just created this environment of trust. And yeah, we can talk about some serious stuff. No, I can't have you do XYZ, but I'm doing it and explaining it and sharing it in a way that that person, that individual understands, hey, we're having some fun, but she means business. It's serious. So there's, the science behind that, and is the way that you're storytelling right off the bat.
Right. You got to hook them. It's so much of what you're describing is from the theater and from that training. You got to hook them and, get them to want to lean in and feel like it's going to be okay. I've got you, like you're in charge. Immediately, I'm one of you, I get where you're at, and let me make it so we're in this together, and it immediately softens people and helps them to get in. Earlier, you were talking about walkers, and I know that you shared that you've got a project that you're working on here pretty soon, and it has something to do with somehow we're going to learn something through the way that we go shopping and the way we use our grocery carts. And
what?
This is all. Tell us more about this project that you have, and we can just hear the brilliance that is Amanda.
Oh my gosh!
With how you're going to teach something pretty serious, but maybe in a way that's not seen as serious. And I just want to do a call out to. I am in Rochester, New York, and this is the land of Wegmans, which is the #1 grocery store consistently rated across the US that's where you should work. And so shout out to Wags. But when you said grocery cart, of course, I'm over here at my local Wags wondering, what is Amanda going to do? And how is she teaching us through this grocery cart? So please tell us more.
Well, thank you. And, I used to live in the North, and I miss Wegmans. They have the best samples. And now I don't know if everything that they had out was samples, but I definitely may or may not have walked around the grocery store and ate a lot. So thank you. And sorry, Wegmans. Well, I live in the land of Publix here in Florida. The Learning Guild is having their Learning Leaders Conference in October, and I'm excited to be a speaker where I am talking about the power of a quarter and what that means for leaders to drive culture change. Haha, see what I did there? So if you've ever been to Aldi, so Aldi is sweeping the nation here in America. I think they recently just purchased Winn-Dixie, so there's going to be a lot of Aldis coming around. And Aldi has a very simple philosophy or a simple process. You bring a quarter and you get your shopping cart, and then you go shopping and you bring your quarter back, or bring your shopping cart back, and you get your quarter back. Simple, simple, simple thing. So I don't know, maybe it was in 2024 sometime, and I love Aldi. They have just everything is organic. It's very cheap. They are, originally from Germany, and I'm Austrian, so I already feel like I should just be shopping there anyway because they've got some cool German food there. This is not endorsed by Aldi, but how awesome would it be if it was? I got stuck in the parking lot for whatever reason, and I started noticing something. People either giving somebody else their shopping cart and not asking for a quarter in exchange, or there was a shopping cart just left in the parking lot, which is far and few between at Aldi. Maybe it was raining, or it was a handicapped spot. They couldn't bring it back, whatever the case might be. People bringing it back and then leaving that quarter, because somebody left their quarter, right? Leaving it sort of by the cart. So somebody else who maybe didn't have a quarter could grab a shopping cart. And I got curious, thinking to myself, why in a world where when I go to Publix, I will throw that shopping cart right onto the median, or I'll leave it admittedly right in the spot if I don't, if there's not a close place to move it to. But why in a world where we don't know these strangers, we feel this compelling need to help somebody else simply because of this quarter? So I have been doing extensive research and kind of being a little bit creepy and going to Aldi's all across the country, also in Europe, get a good baseline research to really understand, was that just an exception that time?
Was it just your Aldi's, this one that you went to, or is it all over?
Well, please come join me on October 2nd at 3:30, I think. I'm like the last breakout of the day, and I'm so excited. I'm in for it. Like, for those of you who are coming to Learning Leaders, don't miss this one. I know I'm in between, you and happy hour, but it is going to be well worth it. There's a common behavior here amongst strangers, and the whole premise is talking about how does that simple quarter teach us how to drive culture in a very tactical way in the workplace. Let's forget theory. We got enough books about theory, but how can I practically use what Aldi has created and drive some real culture and behavior change in the workplace?
I'm so interested in this because when I was in my 20s, I lived in San Francisco, and it was normal to have to pay to have a cart when you went to the grocery store. And I found it to be an annoyance. This was not the culture that I was experiencing. So I do think there's something going on with Aldi. And what is this culture that has been created that people want to be a part of? What's happened and what's changed? I'm definitely going to check out your session. As some of you may know, and maybe Amanda, as you know, I do collect things. One thing in particular is Barbie, vintage ones in particular. But I do have one with a shopping cart, and I'm going to have to find where that is because it's very, very cute. Tell me if you think that anything that's going on with technology today, with people have a lot of questions around. You heard me mention it earlier, maintaining our humanity in the age of AI. What are your thoughts on what you know to be true about yourself as a performer and as an actor in this age of AI? Are there things that are playing out for you, or that you notice, or that maybe we could provide some insight in on? I just keep hearing this. We must keep the humanity. We must. And I'm like, what is a practical takeaway? Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that in this world that we now live in today?
No, I am actually AI Amanda, and I have no thoughts to this. So sorry.
We're all still figuring it out, aren't we? Honestly. I love that.
It's the AI. It wouldn't be a podcast if there wasn't the word AI in it,
I know. And I know this isn't a podcast about AI, but I just feel like, to me, I don't know. I just want to find out. I want to discover the answer, because I've built my career on practical takeaways anyway. Like, what am I really doing here? What does it really mean? What can I put my hands on? And I just keep hearing it. Let's find the human in the AI, the HI in the AI, the human intelligence, right? And it's like, what are you talking about? What does it mean? And I just wonder if it lands with you, or if any of that resonates with you. And certainly I'm not expecting that you would have an answer on it that answers it all, because actually I'm interested in exploring it and seeing if we can discover together.
Yeah, I think this is a conversation that is going to continue to evolve for all folks, right? It's fun. So that, the previous company that I was with, Corporate Visions, they do tremendous amount of uh, research and evidence-based insights, and most recently, really all around. I'll use the phrase distinctively human. We have these resources, and Corporate Visions is a selling company or consulting company, mostly for sales folks. And the big apprehension is that AI is going to take sales jobs. Well, no, they're not going to take sales jobs. They're going to take functions of the sales job so that you as human be distinctively human and go do your human thing to go make your sale, right? And I'm synthesizing that in probably a terrible way of what they're all the real good work that they're doing. I think from a performance standpoint, it's the same concept, right? So AI cannot replace the emotional moment that you're having or interacting with an audience. It can't. And I say that maybe in 2095 when we're not around, maybe they can. As it stands today, is AI doesn't understand empathy. It doesn't understand that if I'm a performer and now I just learned that you love Barbie. I've written it down. And now, oops, maybe there will be something coming to your house that has to do with a Barbie. I don't want to tell you. Spoiler alert. It, AI can't. AI cannot replace that. It cannot replace, at least as I believe to understand it, right? It cannot replace the true heart of a conversation, right? It, Charles Duhigg put out a great book. I think it was last year or the year before, Super Communicators. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but it's just a tremendous book about how to be a super communicator.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to put that in the show notes so to link us on over to that excellent book.
It's an incredible book. And I recently picked it up again. Right early on in the book, he's explaining that you as a human talking to somebody else, there's 4 different conversations, and you have to do an assessment on what kind of conversation am I having right now to essentially really drive a conversation that I want to have. Technology is not going to be able to assess that. And I'll use a very specific example. So if you see my glasses, I'm wearing some Meta glasses, so yay for those. And no, I'm not recording you. You would know it because there would be a light. But the other day I was playing around with some of its functionality because they're really trying to humanize AI, right? And they have this, and I don't want to say her name because then she'll start talking to me. So there is this functionality where you can tell your glasses how you feel. I said, okay, I'm going to tell my glasses how I feel. I said some really deep things just to gauge what would happen. Oh, I'm sorry. You feel like this. How else do you feel? And there's never this deeper, this next level of understanding from the AI to say, oh, she's really struggling because she's looking for, this in her life, or she's really struggling because her mom is driving her bonkers. There's not this second layer.
Right, right. It's interesting that you mentioned that because recently in doing some brainstorming and what I'm going to call partner writing with ChatGPT, I mentioned for the first time ever how I felt nervous. And it was interesting the direction that the ChatGPT took because it's almost as if I could sense that it took a double take, which it didn't, but it was like, oh, all right. But then immediately went into that's completely normal and I understand. And it gave me all these tools to manage nerves just instantly without me even asking for it. And I thought that was really, really interesting, just to note, like it's very transactional. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't even unwanted because I was like, well, hey, there's some rationality in the middle of my emotionality, if that's a word. But interesting things, I think when we talk about our humanity, I think it just draws me to our creativity. And I'm just wondering if there was any advice for any trainers, facilitators, presenters that are listening out there that you could give them on how to infuse more creativity into the work that they do, or have the freedom to do that? Because I'm so inspired by the quarter and the grocery cart that you're willing to bring into such a serious topic at your conference session coming up in the fall. And is there any advice that you could give people who might be worried about something like that, or not sure how to go about doing something along those lines, bringing their full sense of their creativity into the work that they do?
There are parts of yourself that you know deep down, and you don't need any validation from anybody else, that you know you are just so darn good at it. So darn good at it, right? And figure out, now, you already know it. You don't need to figure it out. Take that and rip it out of your body. And that's what charges you. And it took me a long time to accept that. For me, it's being silly. Silliness, it makes me giggle. It makes me laugh. My own silliness makes me laugh. And to be able to do that, my creativity then goes bonkers. It goes so full because I'm taking the best part of me that I already know, both, consciously or not consciously. And I've said, okay, Amanda, I'm going to be silly because this is the best version of me. And I don't know if that hones in to anybody who's listening, is what fuels you, whether it's empathy, whether it's compassion, whether it's, silliness or funny, whatever it might be. Take that and that's what you use, because people see that in you as well.
I just love that advice so much. Whenever I am being myself, I am always the best me. Whenever I'm trying to do what someone else has told me to do or what I think I'm supposed to do, I'm not that good at it. I'm just not that good at it. My heart's not in it, and I'm not being true to me. But when I allow that freedom to just be who I am and what I want, like I remember when I launched my business, I'm like, I'm going with pink. I know pink isn't the tech color. I know it's supposed to be spas, but listen, I love pink. And can I tell you how many people are so interested in how I chose to be different and how I chose to, lean in to who I really am? And then that fuels it even more, and you want to go bigger with that. And that's when people start to see and relate to you in ways that are just so much more real. And it inspires them to do the same. It's so, so amazing. I have two more questions for you. Is there anything that you could teach us? We're trainers after all. Is there any one little thing that you could teach us that we might be able to do in our next presentation or our next training?
Yes, I have two. Now, look, if you're a full-time facilitator trainer, I am so looking forward to tuning in to when you're on this podcast. But here are these two things that I will do no matter what. Okay, so I have to give a live demonstration. So it's an improv technique. So if you've ever done any improv, it's sort of a way to get yourself out of your head. And I also do sometimes when I'm just having a grumpy day. It seems to work. So I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna demonstrate, and it's very simple. And look, I even put pants on for you as somebody who works from home, and normally I'm not.
I love it. She's got pants on, everybody. Have it be noted.
Okay, so I'm kind of slouching, because my camera's down, but you stand there and you're ready to go. Okay, I'm going to be on stage, or I'm facilitating a tough conversation. I don't know what the case might be. And all you're going to do is you're put your hands in the air, okay? And you're going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all your limbs. So it goes something like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Boom.
So it's all four limbs.
Yes.
Your arms and your legs are fine. I love this. The energy, because what you're doing is you're getting out energy and you're inviting in the energy that you want, and getting out maybe the nervous stuff and getting your heart going and getting into the physicality of what it takes to do the jobs that we do.
Whew, and I'm out of breath. And it's silly, right? And if you do it in a classroom setting, You're going to have those people that are like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's so silly. But if you start at 10, which in most improv classes, you start at 10, and by the time you're, at 6, 7, you're doing it and everyone's just giggling and you've sort of gotten over yourself. Which leads me to my second thing, for if you're nervous because you're doing something new for the first time, or it's, and nerves is a good thing, right? But you still need to sort of get over yourself and grow back down, is I say to myself, I write it down, but did you die? And now, you didn't. This is for your internal self, right? Before you get on stage, but like, you're so nervous, but did you die? No. And I'm ready to go kill it on stage. So maybe it's a little extreme, but for me it works because it's just this, it's the same old thing, right? Like, ooh, people don't know what you're supposed to say. They don't, as a performer, they don't have your script. So if you skip something, it's no sweat off of their back. You're just stressing out. At the end of it, did you die? You missed your line? Did you die? No, you're good. Keep it moving.
It is okay. It will be okay. I love it. I love that you said it's a little extreme, but here's the thing. The withholding, the fear, the negativity that we can bring into ourselves, all those things are just a little extreme. So if we can help get past that to what's more positive, I'm all here for it. Thank you for sharing those with us.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
I love it. I love the physicality of it. So much is mental. And so when we can channel that through some physicality, it really helps us to get through that. And then to really ground ourselves in that way. I love it. All right, I got one final question for you. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of different types of artists, poets, dancers. I've got several magicians lined up, all kinds of different creative expressions. And I'm wondering if there's something that you wish you understood better, or if there was, basically I'm fishing for questions as I move forward. As a creative person yourself, is there some place where you don't get that or you don't understand that and you wish and you look forward to learning more about how in the world or how in the heck that plays out for them?
This is a great question. What I would love to understand are the process that one goes through when they do have to make a shift, like we were talking about earlier, if it's facilitating something, I should say fun versus in a business sense, like what is your process to still stay you, still be true to your art form, but how do you shift your storytelling, your conversation? Because I'm always seeking to better understand how to do that in different environments.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I think, in fact, it's a pretty good thesis statement for why I'm so interested in talking to people in these interviews, because I want to know, how do we do this and how can we bring more of this into the work that we do, rather than putting it aside or saving it for the weekend or hiding it. Because let's be honest, nobody really ever gets rid of it that I've ever met. They just maybe push it down or they hide it. But it is who we are. And the more that we can be who we are, the better we're going to be.
Couldn't agree with you more. Well, thanks for letting me be on your podcast.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being my guest today, and just all the insights that you brought and the fun and the extra tools and the things that we can learn too. Like any good training, there's always good takeaways, and you have given us so many of those.
That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Konnect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.